Laurence Fox has apologised to journalist Ava-Santina over his vile rant on the GB News show Dan Wootton Tonight. In a 15-minute mea culpa, the actor turned political activist admitted his words were demeaning and not representative of who I am. But Fox maintained the sentiment of his comments, saying he was angry about what he claimed Ava was demeaning, and that was male suicide.
Is not right. And it's demeaning to her, to Ava, so I'm sorry for demeaning you in that way, however angry I am with you still for doing that. And it demeans me because it's not representative of who I am. Ava shouldn't paint all men with one brush, in the same way as I shouldn't paint all women with one brush. So I was being particular about a certain ideologically driven type of woman. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't think it makes women happy to hate men. I don't think it makes society happy for women to hate men in the way that she so often does.
It comes after Ofcom launched a formal probe into GB News after receiving thousands of complaints about the incident. Both presenters were suspended following Fox's tirade against Santina, during which he asked who would want to shag that. In a statement, the TV watchdog announced it had received 7,300 complaints and would investigate the broadcast. In a bad day for Wootton, his contract as a columnist for the Mail Online was terminated and his column had already been paused. So the first thing here is, when is an apology not an apology?
Yep.
And that was such a non-apology. And it just feels to me it was another opportunity for Laurence Fox to say how much he hates Ava-Santina. And also it feels like he was forced to say it. It was without meaning. It didn't mean anything. He didn't mean one single word.
Wasn't it? That was absolutely sorry, not sorry. And it's what we did it's what we did as children. You'd do this thing, you'd do that behind your back. You'd hold your fingers crossed and you'd say, "I'm sorry," knowing that you absolutely weren't.
Are not.
You know, totally.
So absolutists, you know, people talk about freedom of speech, and a lot of absolutists are extremely annoyed about the fate of Dan Wootton and Laurence Fox.
I'm not.
Because they feel that Laurence Fox should have been able to say that. Would you want to? Who would want to have sex? I'll paraphrase.
Thank you,
with Ava. And you know, and I view myself as a bit of a free speech absolutist. But there has to be limits. And on television, you can't pillory a woman like that on television.
No,
it was just wrong. And of course, Dan should have shut him down and didn't.
Instead of laughing.
In some respects, you know, I know both Laurence and Dan, and I like both of them. But in some respects, I feel sorry for Dan in this circumstance because he was hit by this kind of really bizarre situation. And frankly, he froze. What he should have done right at the outset, as soon as Laurence started going on about, would you want... He should have said, I need to apologise for that. But he didn't.
Or do you shut it down? But you just
well, that's what I'm saying.
And laughed and grinned like a Cheshire
well, that's
cat.
what I'm saying. He froze and he laughed and it looked bad.
But that's what you get when you hire someone who's not a proper broadcaster, unfortunately.
Say it again, JJ.
He was a half-decent journalist, but he's not a broadcaster. They put him in front of a camera because he spouts rubbish and makes people angry and vitriol. And the people who watch that channel love it. Like, yeah, he's speaking for the people. No, he's not speaking for the people.
What people?
Yeah, what people? For? Exactly, it's despicable. You put people on TV who say things that are outlandish and aggressive
To shock
people, and they say something shocking, and then they get punished for it.
And there's another couple of points, isn't there? When we said it yesterday, we touched on it briefly, that is there any way that those comments would not have been known, that they didn't know the people behind, the producers and everybody else involved in the programme, that people
Laurence
behind...
made that pretty clear, didn't he? He started tweeting private messages.
And I know he said that, and therefore that ought to be investigated, because if there was collusion as well, then there is that as well. Plus, you know, this business about the sort of, you know, about what Laurence Fox is spouting about misandry. It isn't misandry to sort of to talk about. You know, it's like lumping everybody together, talking about all men or all women. All men aren't this, all women aren't that. What Ava is trying to do is actually trying to kind of, you know, balance. Is trying to say what she sees with the people that she, people who were involved.
She also apologised for what she said.
Apologised.
She did demean male suicide and said it was part of the culture wars. That was not a
But
great
then,
moment
but
for
then
her.
she apologised.
Yeah, I
but
agree.
that's the difference, is that she apologised. We all mess up.
Yeah,
Exactly.
go, why did I even say that?
But what we don't do is demean people in the way that Laurence Fox did. I mean, there's limits, and he absolutely crossed the line. And then he comes back with this rubbish apology.
What would he have done if she'd have said, you know what, I think you've got a little willy?
He'd have laughed it off, I imagine.
No, he'd have been
That's just a joke, folks.
He probably would have tried to show us.
Yeah, perhaps. But listen, in everything that I've heard Laurence Fox ever say, and anything I've ever heard on GB News, that comment you made about Ava-Santina is not the worst thing I've heard from that network. So I'm just surprised still that this is the thing that's got him...
brought them down.
Brought them down.
And Dan Wootton as well, because they've said some terrible things about... I mean,
Everybody.
everybody.
Is that not how these things go? Is
But
the fact
isn't
that
it a shock
in the end,
network?
it just
Isn't the network there to just shock? So they get viewers, oh, God, I wonder what they're going to say tonight.
Shockingly awful.